Hello and welcome. This is Paul Sandhu. So as I'm driving here, I just wanted to do a short video on the topic of be ye not. The Bible tells us to not be ignorant of the devices of Satan. Okay, so what are the devices of Satan? And on this subject here, a lot of people, they talk about things such as the New World Order, such as the powers that be. They might talk about the Vatican, the Pope, the Royals, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the banking families, etc., to say that those are the powers that we have to be aware of what these people and these human powers are up to, and that is how we know what the devices of Satan are. And this is something that I myself was quite spent a great deal of time studying these topics, such as conspiracies, such as the role of the Jesuit order, for example, or the Vatican, or like the history of the Rothschilds and modern banking and central banking and such things. I tried to understand the economy, and I did a lot of programs in the past. I interviewed a lot of people who are quite popular in this field, and eventually, this I started doing back in the late 1990s. So, this went on for quite some time, almost like 15 years or more. And before I finally came to the realization that Satan's biggest device is that he is the father of lies. Therefore, all the information that we are being presented with is for the most part a lie. So, we cannot base our understanding on any of the information that we encounter in this world. And what I mean by that is, for example, like when I did a lot of the economic videos, like in 2009, for example, and 10, when they had the so-called economic crisis, and we were all under the impression that the whole economy and everything was gonna go belly up, and there'll be like mass starvation, and there'll be martial law, and all that kind of stuff, right? A lot of people believe that, and a lot of people still do. And there were a lot of people that were in this so-called preppers, stocking up food and even guns and such things, because they fully expected the economic system as we know it to come crashing down. But it didn't happen. And now, we're hearing the same sounds, same noises again. And what I came to understand is, this is after talking to and interviewing and speaking with, many people who would be considered to be experts in these fields, much more than I came to realize that, they are all basing their analysis on flawed and lying information. That's it. They are basing it upon information that is to be found in the news, that is to be found in basically in normal sources, that we have for information, whether it be on the internet or through the news or through reading journals, etc. That's where our information comes from. But if the information is controlled by the father of lies, then why should we expect any truth in it? Therefore, I came to the conclusion that most of these people who are very well respected in the alternate media, online, etc., even to this very day, that they really don't know what they're talking about, okay? So and this applies to the so-called Christian prophecy teachers as well. They again go by, did you know, North Korea said this, or Iran did that, and therefore there's going to be a war in the Middle East, and there's going to be this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Did you know that, they're building a third temple there? That again is based on information which is for the most part not true. Because almost all the information that we encounter in the media is false. It is lies. And that is the real device of Satan. The most powerful device that he has is that he gives us false information, and then he watches as everybody runs with it, thinking that it is the truth, and they start making analyses based on that information. And of course, what's going to be in the end, it is going to be a lie. And then I came to the understanding that Satan, being the God of this world, as the Bible tells us, he's been at it for quite a number of years now, like 6,000 years in this present age anyhow, since Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and maybe much, in his existence probably goes back a lot further than that. And he has had a lot of practice. So he has this world exactly where he wants it, okay? keep that in mind, that the fulfillment of prophecy is not what Satan wants to see. He will not work to fulfill prophecy. Who does prophecy come from? It comes from God. Do you think Satan wants to work to fulfill the plans and purposes of God? Of course not. Of course not. He will fight tooth and nail to stop those things from happening. Satan is not out there trying to destroy this world. The world as he has made it. He has made this world in his own image. He loves it as it is. You know, he's got the few royals or the few elites that control his systems, that control governments and militaries and academia and sports and entertainment and all the information systems, and they do his bidding. And they give him what he needs, which is, as I said in my last video, a lot of bloodshed. He loves, that's what he lives on. I mean, he's like a vampire. He drinks blood. Okay, literally, in that sense, it's very literal that that's his diet, is blood, human blood, particularly. So he loves to see the bloodshed. And if you look at the history, has there been any shortage of men, particularly males, but even females, who have shied away from shedding blood on his behalf? No. And this is actually now, in the modern era, with modern technology, this has been refined even more, where we have developed, like, you know, far more sophisticated methods of shedding blood, so that the 20th century, for example, was the bloodiest century in recorded history, where some hundreds of millions, if not upwards to close to 1 billion people, were murdered, and not to mention the ones that, you know, lost, whose lives became destitute, who were maimed and otherwise, you know, lost limbs, etc., you know, lived a life of pain and suffering because of all these wars. So you see, Satan has the world where he wants it. He controls the banking, the economics. He, you know, he causes destitution through all these policies of interest rates and exchange, money exchange rates, etc., by manipulation of currencies. He does all that, you know. And all the problems that are the real information in this world, it is kept hidden from, it is not in the media. You know, like in the media, they had that story. I was just at work, you know, they have the news channel on all the time. And there's that story about that 6 or 7 year old Guatemalan girl that was killed at the border in the U.S. and all these people are demonstrating. And I'm going, you know, do you guys know, like, you know, you guys in Guatemala, how many kids are being murdered that very day? Did you do anything about it when you were there? Of course not. Of course not. Do you know how many kids are being sold off into like sex slavery today? You know, that are going to be abused and ritually murdered, and then maybe in war zones, you know, like which are not presented to the media, which is not on the, you might see some headlines here and there, but you don't see the reality of it. Did they see the reality of what happened like in Serbia and in Yugoslavia in the late 90s? And what happened to the kids there? Where the United Nations was very actively involved in human trafficking, you know, selling girls and boys, like, you know, 10, 12, preteen, and even like early teen kids into sexual slavery and you name it, like, you know, drugging them and doing all kinds of evil to them. Do you think that has stopped today? Of course it hasn't. Is that on the news today? No, of course it isn't. Okay, so all these guys that are talking about prophecy, Iran doing that, Iran's just as big a puppet as anybody else. Say all the nations of the world are a puppet under Satan's control. Okay, they're all in the same team. They're not on opposite teams. So, you know, the president might get up and start talking about Iran this and Iran that. Do you think there's even like a single word of truth in that? There is not. So if you based your understanding of the Bible on all the lies of this world, you are going to learn nothing. Absolutely nothing. What we need to do is we need to turn to our God. We need to turn to Him who made the 7 stars in Orion, as He says. We need to turn to Him who commands all the hosts of heaven and all those stand up at attention at His command, who names all the stars, not just numbers them, He names them, who numbers even the hairs on our head. Him. When prophecy is fulfilled, It is because God will command, and He may, and not may, He will also use Satan in the fulfillment of it. But until Satan is literally forced into doing this, when he is first cast out of heaven, and then he comes down to the earth in great anger, and it is only then that he will release the Antichrist. Do you think he wants to see the Antichrist? Absolutely not. He's got it made. He sits up in the heavens, somewhere in the heavenlies, as we are told. He's got everybody under his thumb. He tells the president or whoever, the prime minister or the pope or somebody, okay, I need to have like a sacrifice of 50 million people, so we need to start a war. And there you go. They say yes sir, and bam, they're on their way. Okay, so why would he want to change anything? Why would he want to destroy this world that he has built over so many millennia, and he's got it perfected to where he wants it, where he has those people who do his bidding at the top, at the most powerful positions. I don't know if I want to call it the top, because they're really not. They're like lower than the bottom. They're lower than the scum. They are the lowest of the low. So, but those are the most powerful people that he has in positions of power. Why would he want to change that? Okay? So you understand that this is all lies, that this is not what Satan tells you is in the news or in the media. That is not reality. It is all fiction. All the stories that you hear, and you have heard, from something like the JFK assassination to to Martin Luther King, to Robert Kennedy, to the moon landings, to the Charles Manson, whatever, anything that you can think. Ronald Reagan getting shot, John Lennon being blown away. All these things that are really, in the mainstream media, that are front and center headline news. I would venture to say that they are almost all of them are a hoax and a lie. Okay? And therefore you can base none of your information as far as the Bible is concerned upon the lies of Satan. To know the truth, you need to study the truth. You don't need to sit there all day long and watch, what happened today? Because whatever you think happened, I can bet you that it didn't really happen like that, okay? It didn't. And that is what I have come to realize, that, we are living in a movie. It's fiction. it's a joke, all right? And what does God say? God says, that he will do nothing except he first reveals it to his servants, the prophets, okay? So God will reveal it to us, okay? He will show us when the time comes what he is doing and who he will use to do it and what we will need to do in that time. Okay, do we need to be preppers and stocking up all the food and stocking up all kinds of weapons? What's the point in stocking guns, especially when the US of A or whatever, you got these guns, because you know what? Guns may work against each other, but against the powers that be, they have weapons that you can't even begin to fathom how they can neutralize your guns in a nanosecond. Anyhow, I just want to, I got interrupted by a phone call there, but I just wanted to, you guys to think, the Bible tells us God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. A sound mind is a mind that can reason things out. It has the God-given faculty of, being rational. Okay? Go back and see, like in my life, I've lived long enough now that for the past 35, almost 40 years now, I have heard these same stories, okay? About this is happening in the Middle East and this is happening in Europe, when you guys are, who are younger, you don't know this, but I do. When the European Union was being formed and how everybody was telling us, that this is the Antichrist and this is the beast and this is that. You know what? Those things have happened, and will they play a role? Yes, everything that is in this world will play a role. But what exact role that they're going to play, you are not going to figure it out from watching the news. You're not going to go find out what's happening in the economy. because most of the people, when they were talking, when I interviewed these guys, oh, oil is going to go to $10 a barrel. Oh, oil is going to go to $200 a barrel. You know what? I mean, they have no idea. They have no idea. All right. So we should really focus on the Bible. Like I said, we should listen to Him. Like God, He has said, you know, He will reveal the revelation. It is His. Okay. When Jesus came to give the Apostle John the book of Revelation, he said, it is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is He who held the book in His hand that had the seals, and He opened them. Okay, it is He who commanded those angels to blow the trumpets that caused certain things to happen. It is not Satan doing it. Satan is fighting not to let any of these things happen because he loves the world as it is. Okay, this world, however, God hates it. Okay, He loves people, but He hates the world because it is a world filled with envy and jealousy and rage and murder and everything that is evil. There is nothing that is good in here, and He has decreed that in the right time, in His time, He will bring it all to an end. Let me emphasize that He will, not Satan, not the president, not the Prime Minister of England or whatever country. It will not be, okay? So, do you know what is happening in the fulfillment of prophecy where we are? No, not really. None of those events of the tribulation have yet started. And, you know, Jesus gave us pretty clear signs in Matthew chapter 24, verse 7 and 8. You know, when He says the nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be pestilences and earthquakes and you know, famines and such things in the world. And when those things all begin to happen simultaneously, then we will know that the tribulation or the times of the end have begun. Okay, and we will know because those things will be happening in our neighborhoods where we live. We won't have to worry about CNN telling us what's going on the other side of the world, which none of us ever been to, and none of us probably will get to see what really goes on there. Okay, but when, you know, you have some pestilence right in your neighborhood that is killing off a lot of people, then you know that, you know, this is probably the time. And God will also show us that, you know, He has started that which He had prophesied, but at this moment it has not started. Therefore, don't worry. Don't always be out there trying to figure out what is Satan doing, what are the elites doing, you know, what are the Masons doing, what are the occult, you know, when they have those Super Bowl and they have those halftime shows and they do a lot of occult rituals. You know, why do you expect anything different? What are they supposed to do? Suddenly get up there and start bowing their knee to Jesus Christ? They're the enemies of Christ. Of course they're going to be doing satanic things on there, right? So what's the point in analyzing it? Yeah, they did. Oh, they showed us that they're going to bring in AI and, you know, suddenly we're all going to become machine masters. It's not going to happen. All those things that are heavily promoted in the media, as they have been, you know, such as this UFO alien business, space travel, and all the journey to the moon and etc., all fake. Such things as AI, you know, like, oh, artificial intelligence, you know, they don't understand what consciousness is and who alone has the power to bring consciousness. Okay, do machines exist that can do some very amazing things? Of course, computers can be very, very smart in that respect, but they are not going to be conscious and awake. It won't happen. They won't have any autonomy, as we are told that they will, and suddenly they all turn into Terminators. It is not going to happen. All these myths about transhumanism and everything else, it is mostly fake stories. Okay, don't buy into them. Don't believe them. Read your Bibles. Focus, you know, keep your mind stayed on God. Look at Jesus Christ, you know. It says, set your affection on things above, where Christ sitteth at the right hand of God. Okay, spend way more time studying your Bible than you are in watching news or YouTube videos or anything else. But all these prophecy guys, you know, Satan uses his devices, and one of those devices is witchcraft. It's fascination. Okay, the word fascination is synonymous with witchcraft, and it fascinates people. Get fascinated by this information. They are entranced by it. They are enchanted by it. They are hypnotized by it, and thus they can't get enough of it. But in the end, it all proves to be false. Like all those stories about, oh, this comet is here and this sign is in the sky and that's going to happen this year. None of those things have happened. Okay, so again, go back to the Word of God. Focus on Him. It is His power. It is His world. It is His creation. It is His earth, I should say. The world that sits on the earth does belong to Satan, but it is subordinate to the living God. Okay, it is ultimately the living God who is going to do what He pleases, and when the time comes that He has decreed from before the foundation of the world that this world should come to an end, it will, and no devil and no human will be able to stop it. But until then, you can rest assured that the last person that wants to destroy this world is Satan. He loves the world the way it is. He has spent a great deal of time refining it, shaping it, molding it, and he does not want to see it come to an end. Okay? So, I hope God gives you the wisdom and the understanding that what I'm teaching you is the truth. Okay? Focus on Him. Keep your mind stayed on Him. All right, meditate in His Word day and night, we are told. And if we do that, do we have time to watch all these fake YouTube videos or, all these sensational news stories, etc., or about what this singer or that singer is doing, what Katy Perry may be up to, or who cares? Who cares? They're nobody. Jesus, the Bible tells us that all the nations are as a drop of the bucket for Him. All their hosts are as nothing. The earth is His footstool. Do you think all of the armies, the most powerful army in the world today is the U.S. Army and the Navy, whatever? If the earth is God's footstool, do you think those navies or those air forces or whatever have any power against Him? They do not. When the time comes, God will use them to serve His purposes. But rest assured, it'll be God that'll be doing it, and He will command Satan to do His bidding. Satan will not want to do it. He will not especially want to see this world end, because that means his time has come to an end. But he has no power. He's got to do what God commands him to do. Okay? So let's look at Him. He who is omnipotent, who is the Almighty, who is all-powerful. But despite all that, He is love. Okay? Thank you for listening. This is Paul Sandhu.